I have a friend who somehow always forgets their wallet, but never forgets their phone. At first, it felt like one of those harmless quirks. We'd go out to eat, order coffee, grab drinks, whatever, and when it came time to pay, they'd do the whole pocket check routine. Pat pockets, check bag, pause. Then the familiar line, "Oh wow, I forgot my wallet again. Can you spot me? I'll send it later." Turned into, "I'll get you next time." And next time turned into silence unless I reminded them. If I didn't bring it up, it just didn't happen. And somehow that became normal. The weirdest part was how casual it all felt, like this unspoken assumption that I'd cover it and deal with a follow-up. No embarrassment, no urgency, just vibes. I didn't want to turn it into a confrontation because individually none of the amounts were huge. It was more the pattern that started to feel off. I couldn't tell if I was overreacting or if this was actually happening as often as it felt like it was. Once I realized that, my reaction changed. I stopped paying by default. I started saying things like, "Can you send it now?" Or "Let's split at the register." Funny enough, the wallet started appearing more often after that, or Apple Pay suddenly worked. The friendship didn't explode or anything, but the dynamic shifted. And honestly, it was a relief to stop pretending I was imagining things. I don't think this friend set out to be entitled. I think they just got comfortable with the idea that someone else would handle it, and they were right, until they weren't. It's wild how much easier it is to draw boundaries once you stop relying on vibes and actually see what's going on.
I, 42F, told my 24-year-old son he has 30 days to move out after he called me his retirement plan. My son graduated college 2 years ago, has a decent job, but still lives at home rent-free. He spends most of his money on gaming, eating out, and new tech. Last week, we had an argument because I asked him to start paying $400 month rent. He screamed, "You're my mom. You're supposed to take care of me. I'm basically your retirement plan anyway." I told him he has 30 days to find a place, or I'm changing the locks. Now, half my family is calling me heartless and saying kids these days can't afford to move out. I still think I'm right.
I fed my football-headed son to the dog, and people are calling me the villain. Let me get one thing straight. I fed him to the dog for a reason. You see, when Lois left me, I wasn't a family guy anymore. I was more like a football-headed son and dog guy. Lois took the house money and the other two kids, while the dog, football, and I were left under some cardboard boxes in an alley. We had no food, and personally I cared about the dog more, so I fed the child to him, just to fatten him for myself.
I helped a stranger pick an interview outfit, and months later she saved my worst day. A few months ago, I was killing time at a thrift store after work, doing that slow, aimless browsing you do when you're too tired to go straight home. I had my headphones around my neck and my tote bag on my shoulder, and I guess from a distance I looked like I worked there. Because this woman walks up to me in the blazer aisle and goes really quiet, "Brr. Hi, sorry, do you work here?" I should have said no, but my brain did that thing where it tries to be helpful before it tries to be honest. So I just said, "Brr, what do you need?" Brr, she exhales like she's been holding her breath for an hour. "I have an interview tomorrow. I haven't done one in years. I don't even know what I'm supposed to look like anymore." She wasn't dramatic about it, just embarrassed, like asking for help was the part that hurt. So I said, "Okay, show me what you are considering." Br. She had 3 options: a blazer that swallowed her whole, a blouse that looked like it had survived a war, and a dress that was actually cute but she kept tugging at the sleeves like she didn't trust it. We stood there for maybe 15 minutes doing the world's least official fashion consultation. I asked where the interview was, what kind of role, what she wanted to feel like walking in. She blinked, like I'm allowed to be there. That line hit me so hard I almost pretended my phone rang. So I helped her build something simple: the dress, the blazer that fit her shoulders, shoes that didn't look like they hated her. When she came out of the fitting room, her posture changed first, and then her face caught up. She looked at herself in the mirror and did this tiny smile like she surprised herself. Then she turned to me. "Thank you, seriously, you have no idea." And that's when she pointed at my tote bag. "So do you get a discount?" I laughed. "I don't work here, I'm just a woman with strong opinions about blazers apparently." Last week was one of those weeks where everything stacks. Alarm didn't go off, spilled coffee on my shirt. My boss hit me with a quick chat that was not quick. By the time I got off the bus, I was holding it together with pure spite and mascara. I stop at the corner shop to buy bread and something unhealthy, and I'm standing in line staring at nothing, trying not to cry in public. And I hear this voice behind me. "No way. Blazer girl." I turn around. It's her. Same eyes, same smile, different energy. She looks lighter, like she's not bracing for impact anymore. I must have looked confused because she goes, "Thrift store, interview outfit. You told me the shoulders were the whole point?" My brain went blank because I wasn't expecting to be remembered by anyone for anything. "Oh my god, yes, hi." She's holding a basket with normal happy life things: fruit, tea, some fancy chocolate. Then she looks at my face for 2 seconds, and her smile softens. "Bad day?" I tried to do the automatic, "No, I am fine," but my voice did that thing where it betrays you, so I just nodded. She doesn't make it a big deal, just reaches into her basket, pulls out the chocolate bar, and sets it on the conveyor belt with my stuff like it's the most normal thing in the world. "What are you doing?" "Paying you back." I start to protest and she cuts me off gently. "You don't get to argue. You helped me feel like I was allowed to be in the room, remember?" Then she leans in. "I got the job. I felt my whole chest do this strange warm drop, like relief for someone else can still fix parts of you. We walked out together and stood outside for a minute while cars went by. She told me she still has the outfit, wore it to her first day, kept hearing my voice going, "Shoulders, you've got this." Then she said something that made me laugh even though my eyes were still wet. I'm not good at thanking people in a normal way, so I made a rule. What rule? If I see someone on the edge of a bad day, I do one small thing that makes it less sharp. She waved the receipt. Today you're the small thing. We went our separate ways after that. No dramatic music, no movie ending. Just a stranger turning a terrible day into a survivable one. And I know it's cheesy, but I've been thinking about it ever since, how you can walk into an ordinary place on an ordinary day and accidentally become part of someone's story. How sometimes you don't get a big sign that you mattered. Sometimes you just get a chocolate bar on a conveyor belt and a quiet "I got the job," and honestly that's enough.
My girlfriend admitted she cheated, so I told her I had too, even though I hadn't. My 28M girlfriend, 29, admitted last night that she cheated on me. I'd already had suspicions for a while, staying out late, acting distant, just off overall, so it wasn't completely out of the blue. When she told me, I reacted emotionally and said I'd been cheating on her for our entire relationship. That wasn't true. I told her I'd been seeing one other woman consistently, which completely set her off. She started yelling, demanding details, and spiraled pretty fast. What really got me was how she immediately tried to minimize her own actions, saying it only happened once and that she was drunk, as if that somehow made it okay. At that point, I ended the relationship and asked her to leave my place. Afterward, I had a few friends over just to decompress and reset my head. Not claiming I handled everything perfectly, but it felt like the cleanest way to walk away and be done with it.
My owner force-fed me a football and then ate me while I was sleeping. Here I am watching my last moments before I got swallowed whole. Me, my owner, and the football got kicked out of the house. It was just us, and the cardboard boxes in the alley. We were really low on food, so I thought of going to bed, so I said, "Woof, woof, bark, bark." My owner said, "I'm gonna force-feed you a football." I didn't believe him until that night the child was shoved in my mouth and I got swallowed whole. Don't trust him.
One night, I finally got the courage to check out the dark corner where the sounds were coming from. I shined my flashlight, but there was nobody there. It felt like the shadows were playing games with me. To clear my head during the day, I started going to a specific spot at the hotel to wash my hair and just relax. It became a routine. Last week, I was away for a few days, but the first day I came back and washed my head there, the noises at night became much louder. Last weekend, I decided to just sit there and wash my hair at night, even though it felt wrong. Suddenly, a girl's voice whispered to me. I couldn't even tell where it was coming from, so I thought I was finally losing my mind. I actually said out loud to myself, "You are sick, you need to see a mental doctor." Right after I said that, a girl stepped out from the exact spot where I was washing my hair. As I watched her, she started growing taller and bigger right in front of my eyes. The shock was too much, and I passed out. When I woke up, I was in my own room. I was so confused and terrified that I passed out again.
When I woke up the second time, I was back at the original spot where I first fainted. I tried to tell myself it was all a bad dream, but then she spoke to me. She said she was a guest staying at the hotel, but I knew she was the same person who grew in front of me. I was shaking, but I just said, "Welcome, and thank you." A few days later, I found out the truth in the most terrifying way possible. She is definitely not human. I'm still working here because I desperately need this job, but I feel like I'm being hunted. If you were in my shoes and this job was your only way to survive, how would you escape this? I'm posting the full details of how I found out she wasn't human on my private list, so please join the waitlist on my profile if you want to know the rest.
Damn mushrooms or something else. For context, I'm a 22F. I don't smoke or drink, I'm very fit and athletic, and I eat clean almost every day. My friends and I really wanted to try shrooms, and oh my god, this stuff is way too strong. Even though I personally had a nice trip. One of my friends, who is a smoker and not particularly healthy, was tripping way too hard, to the point where it was honestly concerning. I would advise people not to take it more than once in their life and to be extremely cautious, especially if you have mental health issues. It's extremely intense and could genuinely make some people lose their grip on reality. Please be careful, your brain is not something to play with.
My daddy fed me to the dog, then ate the dog. Here I am standing with the dog, watching our last moments together. The day he barked and woofed and he went to bed. I laid up on him. Daddy and Mommy got into a really bad argument. And Daddy got kicked out of the house. So we sat in an alleyway with cardboard boxes. As I was saying, I was laying against the dog when I felt myself getting picked up and felt sharp teeth on my face. The dog and I then watch our last moments going into Daddy's mouth.
I had beef with some crows for a long time. I left my back door open one day a few years ago, and a crow flew in and started making a nest on top of a kitchen cabinet. I didn't want to be rude, but I just couldn't accommodate the fella, so I kicked him out. He really wanted to get back in and squawked at the door for a while, but I wouldn't let him. And that's when it happened. Crows started following me all over town for like 2 years. One pooped on my back while I was working one day. I thought someone spit on me at first. I was pissed. Yelled at someone for no reason. And they would do this weird thing where they would be lined up on a power line, watching me. And the one on the end would fly to the other side and they would all scoot down a notch. It was really menacing. But it gave me the idea that you could probably get away with murder by training some crows to peck someone to death by bribing them with shiny objects. You could just train them on mannequins first by showing them pictures of the target, then burn the picture. You would have the power of life and death in your hands. The sole arbiter of who gets to live and who gets pecked to death by birds. It would be totally untraceable.
My one and only demonic experience. Before I share this experience, I just need to throw something out there. I mostly use Reddit to post fictional horror stories I've written. However, I do also occasionally post my own true scary experiences. But to make the following paranormal experience of mine a little more credible, I've chosen to just write it out without caring how good or structured the writing is. Although I can't remember the exact year, it was either 2016 or 2017, when I was most likely 16 years old. I'd been living in the Republic of Ireland for just under 3 years, having moved from England. My family and I lived in the Midlands in a very small town. During my teenage years, because of how depressing my life was, mostly due to hating school, I regularly began believing and praying to God, naively thinking if I did, He would magically make my life better. Well, it was during this spiritual phase that I came upon a certain YouTube video. The video was about a man who had apparently been brought by Jesus to hell, and while he was there, Jesus showed him all kinds of eternal horrors. From what I can remember, the man saw the souls of people being tortured and burned alive by demons or something. Well, after experiencing this, the man then wakes up in his bed, as though from a dream. However, the man claimed what he experienced wasn't a dream at all, but a real experience of what happens to sinners in hell. Although I didn't know if what this man experienced was real or not, it definitely made me terrified of ever spending eternity in the fiery depths of hell. However, not long after watching this video, I suddenly felt very unsettled. Not because of the video I just watched, but to my memory, I almost felt as though I was now being watched while supposedly alone in my bedroom. But not only did I feel like I was being watched, I also felt like I was somehow in danger, so much so that I leave my room to go downstairs, as that's where my parents and sister were. Now, what comes next is the real scary part of this experience, because as soon as I reach down the stairs, before I could enter any room, I feel a hard physical tap on the back of my shoulder, where I then literally turn around and scream. No word of a lie, I screamed. But when I turn around, there isn't anyone or anything there, as though a ghost had tapped me on the back. Also worth mentioning, is that I had screamed so loud that my mom was now shouting me from the living room, asking what was wrong. For the rest of that evening, I remember being very afraid and skittish, that every noise or movement I heard had me incredibly paranoid. In fact, I was so skittish that whenever my dog, who was still just a small puppy at the time, came up to me, I was afraid of her touching me. Living in this house for only a few more months before moving, I never had another experience like this one, nor have I since. Although I've always been a fan of scary stories, real and fictional, I basically know little to nothing about demons or ghosts, as I find aliens and cryptids a lot more interesting. I'm not sharing this story to prove it was a real paranormal experience, maybe it wasn't, but if there's anyone reading this who knows anything about demonic experiences or similar experiences of the supernatural, I would really like to hear your thoughts. Who knows, maybe the whole thing was just a psychological reaction from watching a video about hell being real.
Like and subscribe for part 2.